Hello? Can anyone around here speak basketball?
It's the Confederacy of Dunks Basketball Podcast.
Trust in Messiah. Welcome to the Confederacy of Dunks Basketball Podcast. I am your host, Freddie Rivas, and who, sir, wearing his Downtown Magneto on shirt are you?
I'm the producer, Matt Duncan, and yes, I am donning a Downtown Magnetawan shirt. How dare you? And Fred, how are you doing? We're in the last pod of 2021, and 2022 begins next week. How do you feel about that?
I'm feeling pretty good. I'm glad I didn't say Magneto on.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, doing pretty good. Feel like we had a wild year. Again, appreciates to you, Maddie, for being there every week. We're holding this down. You always talk about how we're a time capsule. Wow,
we are. Yeah.
How about especially right now?
Yep.
But before we talk about other stuff, let me just say, if you're tuning into this podcast for the first time, we are a Raptors podcast. We're hardcore fans and comedians and actors and just Johnny on the spots. We do a lot of things. We have analysts on. We have comedians, mostly performers. We also talk NBA. And today was a good episode. But before I get to today's episode, we had a special episode we did. But sorry, you know what? I'm getting too far ahead of myself. Maddie, if people want to find us, share in what we're doing, help us, how are they going to do that?
You can check out our website, dunkspodcast.com, if you want to see all our links and the stuff that we have that you can subscribe to. Of course, we're on all the podcatchers. If you're a Spotify, if you're a Apple Podcasts or Apple or Amazon Music, or God, there's so many now, Fred. There's so many. What's the one you like? Player FM.
Oh, yeah, I love it.
Get on one of your favorite podcatchers. I like Pocket Casts, and subscribe. That would be great. And if those streamers do have a rating system like Stitcher does and Apple Podcasts, please leave us a review. We really appreciate that too. We're on the Sonar Network. That is our Sonar podcast network that we're a part of. Go to sonarnetwork.com. You can listen to us there and see all the other podcasts as well that are in the catalog. We've got our Patreon, which we just released a bonus episode that we actually had on our Patreon about a week ago. We put it up there, and now we just released it yesterday or 2 days ago when you're listening to this on all the podcatchers. So we do have some bonus content for you to listen to there. Freddie and I did a league pass report. Fred, do you want to talk a little bit about it? Just give them a little taste of
sorry, I came into hot with that. Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm excited for the roller coaster that is our league pass reports. But we each assign each other a team, and we watch that team play a game not against the Raptors, as a kind of an unbiased just look. And then we talk about that game and that team. So Matt was assigned by me the Chicago Bulls, and I was assigned the Clippers. So we talk about those teams and the games that they played. And we got another episode coming up, and we actually were assigned. I was assigned the Pelicans, and I assigned Maddie the Warriors. So we're going to each watch a respective game, and we're going to record another episode and kind of keep that Patreon content coming. If you are if you're already a member if you're already a patron, thank you. We really appreciate it, and it's helping us do what we do.
Yeah, thank you. I think we're pretty much there. Are we there for the old episode drop?
I think we're there for the old episode drop.
Feel the New Year's ball coming down.
Oh, baby.
Times Square.
Dick Clark. I think that's who it is.
Clark. Right? Still Dick Clark, yeah.
It's still Dick Clark. I wanted to say Dick Wolf, and I'm like, it's not him. That's the Law and Order guy. But this is a great pod. We got Jay Rosales of Raptors HQ fame, and that's a rap pod. He's a frequent guest of the pod. We also got Rob Mailloux from the Dark Comedy Festival, and Rob loves arguing, and just stand up in general. I'm sure you know Rob. He's a hilarious dude. We talk Yuta Watanabe being in Cleveland for Christmas. We talk potential NBA trades. And what's our other Raptors subject? Oh, right. I'm sorry. We talk about the wild game where there was only 4 rostered Raptors.
Yeah.
So if you like your, Juwan Morgan and Tremont Waters, check out that portion.
Yeah.
It was really fun though. And the last NBA thing we talk about, why am I blanking out here? It is
trades make a realistic, delicious
trade. Oh, the Christmas Day games. We talked about
and
the best Christmas Day games.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's get rocking on this pod here. And before I say anything else, and before we get rocking on this pod, let me just say that Black Lives Matter, stop Asian hate, email your city councilors and defund the police, and stay active and engaged. And let's make 2022 a better, more progressive year, and let's fight for the things we want. Maddie, I think I'm good. I think you're good. If you feel like collectively we're good, how about you just give me those delicious words I crave for? Okay.
Okay. Happy New Year.
Okay, here we go. Episode, I believe, 227. Could be off. Getting into wild guest territories for these episodes. But let's bring on guest number 1. He's done the pod a handful of times. Let me say 4 or 5. So it's like a modest handful. He's just incredible Raptors personality. He's been on CBC Here and Now, CP24, The National. He obviously works with That's a Rap podcast, and Raptors HQ. If you don't know him, you should. He's incredible. Give it up as loud as you can, even if you're home alone, for Jay Rosales.
Love that intro.
What's up, buddy? How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Love the intro. Love being a part of the show, and happy holidays. Jeez.
Yeah, happy holidays. It's a wild time for everyone and for basketball, so I think it should be a good pod.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm glad to be on, and this is actually going to be the last pod I do of 2021, so I'm glad it's with you.
Oh, wow. Honored. Actually, I'm just realizing this is the last pod I'll be doing before 2022, although is that an honor to myself? But I'm honored to be with you.
Likewise.
And also honored to be with this next guest. I think it's been, it's probably been 2 years or something. It's been a while.
3
3 years. Oh my God. He's a hardcore basketball fan, an amazing stand-up. Anyone in the Toronto comedy scene knows him. He's someone who he cut his teeth long ago, has a really, really good hustle. Rob Loves Arguing is his Twitter feed, but if you live in the New York area, you've probably seen him. He's just an incredible grinder, amazing stand-up, hilarious dude, and I think has some pretty good trade stuff for our NBA segment. Give it up as loud as you can, even if you're at home alone, for Rob Mailloux.
What's up, guys? Oh,
not much. Folks, you gotta check this pod on YouTube and Rob's Why. Okay, so stuff like that is great. Rob, what's up? Did you like your music? I feel like that was Christmassy music. I don't know.
Is that Christmassy music? It's like Nightmare Before Christmassy music, maybe. But it was okay. Sorry, not to offend the music. Is that somebody? Did somebody make that in the street?
Yeah, Matt did that himself. So
okay, well, you know what? It was great then. I don't want to offend anybody off the top of this. I love, by the way, Freddie's intro having to dance around that most people in Toronto hate me. He's like one of the few people that actually like. He's like, everybody in Toronto knows him. He's been around. Yeah, everybody hates me, but that's all right. I'm Rob Love's arguing. It's my fault.
You know, you enjoy arguing, that's for sure. I don't think everyone hates you. If they do, I mean, you know, come on, people, don't spend too much time being hate filled. It's not as fun. But Rob, what's up? Yeah, thanks for being here.
Yeah, no problem. I'm actually in Canada, but that's the first time in 2 years I've been in Canada, which means I've gotten to enjoy some basketball games. I've been to a couple of games this year. Went to Madison Square Gardens for the first time. I both went to Madison Square Gardens for the first time this year and got ripped off by a fake ticket by a scalper for the first time at Madison Square Gardens this year.
Wow, that's a double whammy.
That's in New York. It was $40, and I'll tell you the truth. I walked away from it going, you know what? I live in New York now, and it didn't even hurt me that bad. It was okay.
Yeah. I feel like you're waiting for the late subway. And it's just like when you get on, it's just a quiet to yourself, bing bong, you know?
Yep.
Just a knowing bing bong. All right, let's start talking Raptors ball. I feel like there's a little bit a lot going on in a weird way. For anyone listening to this podcast, you'll be listening to it after the Raptors Sixers game, so we're not going to really be going there. But yeah, let's get going. Maddie, give me your most delicious, weird-sounding Raptors sting. Now, also made by Matt. All the music.
All right, very good.
I mean, most music is Creative Commons licensing I use, yes. But
everything you hear, including Rob's track, which sounded like when when there's the mean people come out of the Christmas Day parade in the Batman movie.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, it's called Professor Ulmut. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know who that professor is, and I don't trust him. Okay, let's go to you first, Rob. And oh yeah, sorry, let me just double check my question here. Right. Yeah, so I just kind of want to talk about that Cleveland game a little bit. Again, first of all, let me say if you just want to put your hand up, either of you, and say, you know, I didn't watch that game, I definitely would not judge you. But I watch all Raptors games. I'm just like that. So of course I watched that game. I think it's actually going to be a good trivia game. It's going to be one of these times that a lot of people don't remember or don't want to remember. But yeah, Rob, besides the hot mess that was that game and sort of is the NBA right now, what's your big takeaway from that game?
Well, in New York, I've been playing every Tuesday morning. A bunch of us get together and we play ball at Big J. Okerson's building. And I think there's probably a good chance 3 or 4 of us could probably get into the NBA right now. Yes. I think Ari Shafir could play in the NBA right now. If Big J lost a little weight, he's got a good stroke. He could play. And almost certainly I could play a Ben Simmons sort of pass and defense style of game right now. It's crazy. I mean, this is the best, though. The takeaway is there's a lot of people on this earth that can appear to play NBA basketball at some sort of level. And it's unbelievable how many of them we're going to get to see probably over the next month. It's like, this is the best. I love it. When COVID started and we tried to go back to sports, this is what we all kind of hoped would happen, you know? Like where we got a few games where we're just like, dust off the Isaiah Thomas, bring back the other Isaiah Thomas, bring back original Isaiah. Like, let's have them all back. Ray Allen just got beat for the 3-point title. There's no reason why we shouldn't be signing Ray Allen right now. Tell me that Banto and Ray Allen wouldn't be a pretty good backcourt for the Raptors in this scenario right now. Would it be worse if we had Ray Allen with Banto right back there right now? I would love to see that tonight in Philadelphia.
I wouldn't mind seeing it. I heard there was some, chatter on Twitter for Vince Like,
Yeah.
and also seeing a guy like Joe Johnson come back and like be able to do some stuff in that Celtics game, it's like there are some dudes who they hung it up, or they're kind of pushed out of the
I
league,
didn't even think about Vince. Vince is a great answer. Why wouldn't they
right?
take Vince back for a 10-day contract? They already should have done it to retire his jersey here regardless. This is the perfect opportunity. Now it's not even symbolic. You can just actually do it.
Totally. And I want to shout out a friend of the pod, Anthony Hall, who just tweeted at me and the pod and said, "Why don't we give Yao a look? Like, what's up, Yao Ming? Can you still? How's your foot? Can you play? Probably
You know
he
what they
could do
should
some
do?
stuff.
You know the 19 players that just got in trouble. Actually, my girlfriend has a couple of them on her caseload, like Sebastian Telfair and all the guys that got in trouble for that, like fraudulent health. They
The
should, as
insurance thing,
punishment,
yeah.
they should make them all come back and play as for free. Like they all get their charges wiped off, but they've got to play a 10-day contract and make no money, and then everything's even.
With the Orlando Magic or
Yeah,
With the
whatever.
Magic.
Yeah.
middling team, yeah.
I'll take
I-
Jamario Moon right now. I love Jamario
I was gonna
Moon.
say-
We talk on Instagram.
I say yes to that right away because I love Jamario Moon so much.
Jamario Moon rules.
If I could like change anything in time, I would allow him to do his dunk off over again, because I think he could have destroyed the dunk off, and he just got a little bit nervous.
Well, you get a little bit of that. His nephew is now with the Clippers. Xavier Moon
really
has signed he's the
Wow.
3-time reigning CEBL MVP. He has just signed with the Clippers. He'll be there for 10 days. And ironically enough, he's been working so hard to get to the NBA. One of the games in his 10 days is actually going to be in Toronto. Get this man out of Canada. That's what he's trying to do. But anyways, congratulations to Jamario Moon's nephew, Xavier Moon.
Oh my God,
I
Xavier
might
Moon,
watch a
shout out.
Clippers game. Yeah.
Yeah. No. And I'm gonna go to you, Jay, but I just want to also to jump on Rob's point, and something I say all the time on this pod, and I think there's a lot of nuance and a lot of kind of ways to go from this type of thinking, but there are a lot of people in this world who can play basketball. The NBA, of the 4 major leagues in North America, is the most elite. It has by far the least amount of players. And as we know, basketball is like, can't be worse than the 3rd or 4th most popular sport in the globe. So as far as professional players, it has like probably the worst ratio. And more guys can play. Although my big takeaway is just how much chemistry matters. Like, I was watching the broadcast and they kept saying, these guys, they only met 2 hours ago. And boy, was that clear. These guys for sure just met, and they could all ball, but having chemistry, like, we forget like that every little play, getting to the corner, Fred Van Vliet relocating from the 3, like these are just really drilled into the players, and chemistry is massively important, and not having that is deadly. But yeah, Jay, what's your takeaway from the mess that was that Cleveland game?
Well, I think that there's only so much you can take from a game like that, right? I mean, as you
Yeah.
mentioned, these guys met on the bus ride on the way to the arena. So that must have been super awkward. But at the same time, it's like half of those guys, this is an exciting time for them, right? They get to finally showcase, for some of them, their first time in the NBA. For some of them, it was like a second chance. For someone like DJ Wilson. And DJ Wilson specifically impressed me. I thought 4 steals in the first 7 minutes shows, hey, he's got kind of that Nick Nurse mentality of deflecting the ball and just have an eye for the ball. But I think the one who stood out to me the most was Yuta Watanabe. He really did step up. I think that's something that we were looking forward to after the summer league and the preseason that he had, that he has the chops to be in the top 8 in this rotation. And the injuries kind of hampered that a bit in the beginning of the season, but now we got to see what he's capable of. And when there's literally no other option on this team, he kind of showed out, and I was really impressed with that. And I hope that he kind of rides this momentum for the rest of the season. Like, he's not going to get a chance to put up 20 shots again and score 20 plus points again as the team starts to come back. But at the same time, hopefully this is just more of a jumping off point that, okay, when you're coming off the bench, you're going to be the leading scorer some of the time. So you're going to be that 6th man that the Raptors need some offensive punch from and defensive punch. I mean, we all remember that glorious block of the Gary Payton Jr. Dunk attempt a couple weeks ago. So yeah, I was really impressed with Utah. I mean, that's really all you can take from here, right? It's not about wins and losses. And I had people messaging me that, I didn't watch the game. I see that they got destroyed by 46 points. What the hell? I'm like, it's not about the result. It's about the process. And there were some things there that I did like from Utah and from DJ. Not so much from Svi or Chris Boucher. There were some things that were just head scratching moments for a chance for, this is your opportunity to shine. And for the most part, they didn't. But at the same time, they got some extra run. And again, I hope that this is something that they can kind of carry forward throughout the season as more of a confidence booster.
Great points. I want to jump on the Utah stuff just because I feel like maybe a couple pods ago, I was just pondering and asking the guests who is our sixth man. And I think we kind of decided it's Utah right now because of injuries. But there is something about Utah. He does seem like he's the perfect role player. I think it's good you bring up Boucher and Svi because, Banton is so young and so new that it's a little bit like, dude, whatever. Just keep fighting the good fight. But, talking about those three guys, like Utah can play within himself on a nightly basis in a way that those guys cannot. And I think we've seen the high end of Boucher. I think last year he probably had 2 or 3 games that was close to like 40 and 20 with threes and blocks and like 2K style, almost all-star numbers, obviously in a very depleted roster. But as he's gotten moved to the bench, like he hasn't been able to incorporate himself in a productive way. And, it's interesting to see that Utah can go for 11 for 20 and still, have confidence that when he gets moved to 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th in the rotation, whatever, when he does play, he can be productive. So yeah, just echoing your point, the process is always going to matter. And that's why, a season in Tampa, you can't just nothing is thrown away in the NBA. I get the idea. I get, people always want to rebuild. They always want to center things around the younger player. And everyone wants to flip the switch and just fast forward through whatever. But that's just not how life works and development works. And, someone might be developing in the wrong direction. Someone might be developing in the right direction. And all the little marginal stuff ends up mattering when you're trying to kind of build a winner, like a consistent winner. And yeah, anyways, all that to say, I totally agree. I think Utah kind of showed out in a game, where it's sort of hard to show out. Like, I feel like I was just looking at the plus minuses and he was still a negative 33 on the game. So,
Jesus.
He got destroyed. Or I mean, like he got, it was bad, but, let's bring in Maddie and, let's talk a little.
Sorry, just to point out, my boy Daniel Oturu was only a negative 16. He actually led the team. So,
thank you for saying that. I was actually going to shout him out as being like, I guess the most productive player, or the least amount of mistakes. I don't know.
Can I be honest though? Of all the guys that we picked up, is he not the one that we really like? Look, this is my personal pleasure I'm taking in watching the replacements come to life in the league aside. I think the Raptors are one of the teams that can benefit from this situation because we weren't planning on, we're being more competitive than I think some people planned on, especially with how many, injuries and without Pascal for so long and whatever. We're a little bit closer to competitive than I think people thought, but we're still supposed to just be evaluating this talent. So what better chance than look, last year we just told Kyle to sit down because he was old. At least now we're hey, we'll give you 10 days. We'll figure it out. If we find one person from this, if Daniel Oturu is our, third string center next year, we probably gain something from all of this because these games are crapshoots. No one in the NBA is learning anything about themselves right now because it's all this, and so this is there's a lot of teams that hurts, but Raptors, let's just enjoy it, especially around Christmas. What better time for this? Sit around with the family and watch Isaiah Thomas play again. I think this is like the perfect holiday treat for everybody. I enjoy the NBA right now.
Hey, I'm picking the NBA too.
COVID.
Yeah, more
for
COVID.
everyone.
Yeah. You know what? More COVID, please. No, absolutely not. But I do agree that the Raptors, we're still I think we still have an extra spot that we after we waive Decker, I'm pretty sure we haven't filled.
Yeah, there's an extra spot.
I was in the camp where I wanted to keep Freddie Gillespie, even though he had a terrible showing, just because the strain no big man puts on, guys like Scotty, Pascal, and OG. And I think we've seen with the absence of Precious and Birch, sometimes it is rough to not have someone who can go out there and kind of like be a tough dude and be big and throw their weight around.
Believe the 5 going forward is a platoon position. I don't think that you're going to see very many I think you're going to have to see a Chris Boucher type, fourth quarter type of, center and a Jonas Valanciunas type of center. And teams are going to have to go with, if you don't have Joel Embiid or Jokic, you're going to have a combo situation. I don't think anybody can just go out and play Steven Adams 30 minutes and hope everybody else is good enough. So, finding, who I wanted to draft 2 years ago, and he turned out to be nothing, I think, but he went to the Jazz, but it was Udeka Azubuike. I'm not going to say his name.
From Kentucky. Yeah.
He was just massive. And I just wanted to see them draft a guy that was hey, let's just see what a massive guy can do again. A guy that's just stronger and bigger than everybody, but then also have the other guys. So this is a perfect opportunity. Go find some hefty fellas and some whatever, and then you can come away with a platoon 5 out of this situation. That's a huge win for next year.
I couldn't agree more on the platoon 5. I feel like Masai and Bobby, after Serge and Gasol have been going that way, they clearly don't want to invest, plus 20 million into that position. And I honestly do think that is the right way going forward. But let's talk Utah and let's talk Christmas. I want to get a little bit silly here. Utah went to Cleveland and apparently had to, celebrate Christmas in his hotel room by himself and ordered some dinner in Cleveland. Obviously, there's a lot worse things going on, but it's hard not to imagine a sad Utah in a hotel room. So that got me thinking, if you were going to liven the experience up, make it the best possible version of itself, what would you do? And let's start with you, Jay. What's Utah's there, it's Christmas, you're a magical, flubber style fairy. You're popping in, you get to inject something in the hotel room. What is it?
Well, he was alone on Christmas, and I believe he was either in Cleveland or Chicago. Do we know? Probably Cleveland, right?
I thought he was in Cleveland, but it definitely could have been Chicago.
For the purpose of this exercise, I'm going to say he was in Chicago, even though he probably was in Cleveland. Sure. But being that it was in Chicago, he's alone, and it's Christmas, there has to be some sort of Home Alone theme to this. Right. And I'm thinking for sure, we're going to have the old Christmas music blaring. We'll have the train going around his hotel room with the Michael Jordan stand-up poster going around the room. And just have music blasting and eating all kinds of junk food all over the place. That's how I would liven up his Christmas. And of course have Home Alone playing on the TV all day long. But just the first one, none of the other ones, not even the second one or that new one. No, please no. Just the first one.
Just the OG. I love how it's he's basically going to be in a Kevin McAllister museum.
Yeah,
in this scenario, but honestly, Utah, I think he'd be all right, well, I'm in Chicago, when in Rome, let's do some Kevin McAllister stuff. We could hire some people to get badly hurt, like the Wet Bandits.
Absolutely, he's gonna run around the hotel room, scream your head off, do the whole thing.
Yeah, okay, this is good. Let's go to Rob next. Rob, what's up? Utah is in a hotel room. What's your advice?
Well, first of all, I think he'd be fine with the whole Home Alone scenario, the Jordan, as long as it's a Jordan cutout and it's not Anthony Edwards on a train floating around, looking to posterize them.
Over and over?
Over and over. Every time the train comes by, he thinks he can stop it, and it just goes right over top of him. But, yeah, is that so bad? First of all, if you're going to be in Cleveland, I mean, what did you want all the team to get out and go down to Williams Barbecue on the east side of Cleveland, where the cars just cross the lanes anyways, because the will to live has become so little in that town that they sort of just are always kind of committing suicide towards you. I actually did that drive twice this year. I moved in from Chicago back to New York. So I went back and forth across I'm a scumbag, so I don't get a U-Haul. I rent a SUV and do 2 treks back and forth. So I did that drive a lot, and I imagine that's probably what he did. Why fly from Cleveland to Chicago when you're trying to be the only man left on earth without COVID, so you can try to put up 24 points in a meaningless game for us? So, was it so bad? I'm here with my family. I'm slightly kicked out of my country for a little bit that I live in. We won't discuss that too much on air for legal purposes, but I'm back in Canada, visiting my family for the first time in 2 years. And I can tell you right now, the peace and serenity that Yuta Watanabe experienced in comparison to most of us is probably one of the best Christmases Yuta Watanabe will ever have his entire life. I mean, he's going to always remember the Christmas where he got to stay inside, FaceTime everybody, and then go be the best player on a basketball team for a day. I say, Yuta, congratulations. This is a Christmas for the books. It was probably a beautiful hotel in Cleveland, nicer than anything else in Cleveland. So I don't think that anybody should feel bad for Yuta. It was probably a lovely Christmas. He got to avoid everything else. I mean, staying in your hotel alone in Cleveland is the best thing you can do in Cleveland. So,
yep. Those are wise words from a well-traveled man. So, Yuta, you know what? I hope you enjoyed yourself, and I guess your Christmas present was being the star, and you were.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Maddie, what's up? What are you going to do for Yuta?
Yeah, I don't know too much about Cleveland. I've just heard all the horrifying things about how terrible it is to go there. But I think if he's stuck in the hotel by himself, it's always good. You got a lot of time on your hands. There's probably other people in the hotel as well. You got to do a little sneak out. Anytime you're on a team trip, doesn't matter if you're playing the NBA or single A hockey. You're going to sneak out of that hotel room, have a little fun. Maybe, knock on some doors, do a Drew Carey vibe check. Check out, what are people in Cleveland feeling right now about Drew Carey? I know he's a big Cleveland guy. Don't really think much about him now that he's on The Price is Right, but, do a vibe check for Drew Carey. Also, it is on Lake Erie, and I believe Lake Erie is a pretty shallow Great Lake. So there's a good chance that he could walk right across it, get himself a wetsuit, and just walk straight across Lake Erie in a wetsuit back to Canada. And if the food's not so good in the hotel, just even do it for one or two of the days. Get some food over on the Canada side, then walk back to your hotel room in Cleveland the next day. No one's going to know the difference. They're not going to check on you too much. Just have your cell phone with you, and in case you're in trouble and you need to make a call.
Don't tell me you can walk across Lake Erie, because I just got kicked out of the U.S. for a little bit. I'll do that. So don't give me any ideas. I'll walk right past you to high five him on the way. I'll trade him. You can come here with my folks. I'll take the hotel room in Cleveland, and we can trade lives right back. That's fine with me. Utah, hit me up.
Utah, there you go. If you're listening to Rob, hit him up. If you're listening to Matt, I guess buy a wetsuit, walk across a lake, and then back across the lake the next day. And somehow that's better than Christmas in a hotel.
Get to know Lake Erie.
You could just watch a movie, or you could get to know one of the Great Lakes during the winter.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say, not totally dissimilar to Maddie. Hopefully a bit more fun and less, punishing. But obviously, Drew Carey's in the mix for me as well. I want Drew Carey to take Yuta to what he thinks the Football Hall of Fame is, and be like, hey, you're in Cleveland. We're going to show you the Football Hall of Fame, and we're going to teach you about some Ohio, American football culture. But then you get in there and it's The Price is Right. But just for Yuta, he gets to play every single game, and just mess around. And if Drew Carey's tired, I don't care. We paid Drew the money, and he's got to perform. Okay, so yeah, mine is a very much like a forced, a hostage scenario for Drew Carey, and just like Utah's own private wonderland.
Everything I've been told about Drew Carey too is that he's and this is alleged, but apparently a pretty big fan of the Ladies of the Night, and so I feel like they could go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and Drew Carey could probably show them a pretty festive Christmas with some with some nice ladies, which will make you think about the ladies on The Price is Right different from now on. But yeah, I've heard some stories about how Drew Carey parties, and it's hard. So.
I mean, I don't know. Like for me, that is just like fully falls in line with what I haven't thought about it, but that is what I expect of Drew Carey.
Okay, good. All right, good.
I don't know what I did. If you asked me before this, if you're like, well, what does Drew Carey do in the nighttime? I'm not sure what I'd say, but like that would be pretty close to the answer. Shout out Drew Carey. Cleveland rocks. Okay, let's move on to some NBA stuff. Maddie, my good man, please give me your weirdest, whatever, Titanic sounding Adam Silver audio sting.
This is Adam Silver.
I always want to make the sound effect, but it's never there. Okay. All right. I guess kind of sticking with Christmas. Let's go to you first, Jay. Yeah, Christmas Day. What's up? Do you have a favorite game? Were you able to watch them all? Did you watch any of the highlights?
Absolutely nothing.
Nice.
Didn't watch a single Christmas Day game. I echo what you were saying earlier about it doesn't matter who's on the floor. I'm watching every single Raptors game, but that does not carry over to the other teams in the NBA and their games. So I spent all of Christmas with my family. I disregard them throughout the Raptors season whenever Raptors games are on.
Yes.
So I didn't watch a single game. Having said that, if I were to pick a favorite Christmas Day game, it probably would be, if I had watched it, it probably would have been seeing Kevin Durant torment LeBron James on Christmas Day, because as much as I think that LeBron James is the greatest of all time, watching him suffer in LA has been quite a joy to see this season for some odd reason. Even thinking back to, I know this wasn't Christmas Day, but thinking back to what was it, last week or 2 weeks ago when DeRozan hit that game winner in his face. Like, I don't know, I'm finding an extra joy in watching the Lakers crumble, and Russell Westbrook being a big part of that. So anytime the Lakers are losing, I find myself enjoying it. So I'm gonna go with that one.
That's a good pick. I mean, I'm always here for just endless amounts of like Knicks, Lakers, or Celtics slander. Although I will say the Knicks are in this weird middle spot for me where they've been so bad for so long that I feel like there's not like obnoxious levels like Lakers or Celtics fan. Like actually I feel for Knicks fans.
I'll tell you,
I
lived in New York. Living in New York City, I don't feel bad for them whatsoever because they're just not good basketball fans. It's insane that they thought that offseason was good. Like, you know how many people I had to put up with where I had to try to gently explain to them that Evan Fournier's contract was horrible from day one.
Oh, like me too.
That he is one of the worst playoff performers in the history of the NBA. And if that was the goal, was to make it further into playoffs, you've actually just made yourself worse. That Kemba Walker's knees were terrible. That a platoon of two old, broken down point guards is not a good idea. That like you should have been playing quickly. Then Mitchell Robinson's not going to play more than like 20 games in a season. You try to explain all of these things to them, that Julius Randle's, the usage rate was insane, and that's why he looked like that for a year. Like, You couldn't explain any. They're just bad basketball fans. It's crazy that it's the greatest basketball city in the world, and the fans don't know anything about it. It seems like it's bonkers. So I don't feel bad for Knicks fans. They're stupid. They're very dumb people.
I love how hard you're coming for Knicks fans. I
just can't believe it.
I'm like a million times with you on the Fournier and the offseason stuff in general. I was really perplexing.
It was on paper the worst offseason in the NBA, and all the fans were excited about it. I couldn't believe it. It's a terrible offseason.
Them and the Clippers were two teams I said wouldn't make the playoffs, and I think I got a lot of aghast, that's a wild take, Freddie. But yeah, just they didn't look at the rosters, and I don't know how either was meant to hold up. I think the Clippers have been pretty good, surprisingly. But so wait, where was I here?
Oh, you hate the Knicks, the game Christmas Day.
Oh yes, just in general watching frenetic fan bases get tortured is really fun. Rob, before I go to you, I'll say for pretty similar reasons, I enjoyed the Celtics collapse, and I think the Bucks Celtics game was really, really fun for me because the Celtics are another team I thought didn't really have a great offseason, and I think Vegas had them at 44 wins, which I thought was pretty confusing, and I don't really see them as a particularly a strong team. Love Brown, love Tatum, but that's sort of it for me with the Celtics. And I think the Bucks and the Suns respectively, I think they're not really natural parts of the NBA narrative, so people just want them to be not good anymore, and they're both very much here to stay. So I think it was nice that the Bucks are kind of reminding people that no, we're contenders, obviously, and not considering us contenders is weird. But Rob, do you have a favorite? Was it the Knicks game?
No. So I only watched 5 minutes of the only game I watched 5 minutes of the Lakers and Nets game. But I love Jay. This is how much Jay didn't watch basketball on Christmas Day. Kevin Durant did not torture the Lakers. He didn't even play.
That's how badly I did not. Yeah. Thank you for correcting me on that. I realized that after I said it, I was like, oh crap, hopefully no one caught that.
But here's who did play. It was a classic Raptor showdown of DeAndre Bembry versus Stanley Johnson. And that was the highlight of Christmas Day basketball. Stanley Johnson, 10-day contract. How did he not get a 10-day contract earlier? Stanley Johnson could play defense. I don't understand. I was a big Stanley Johnson guy. Don't really understand that why it took him so long. The Lakers should keep him around.
I agree. I think Stanley is. I don't quite get. I think he's really, really bad at moving the ball, which must frustrate the crap out of coaches. But other than that, he made a lot of marginal improvements for the Raptors, and he got signed by Chicago at the beginning of the year, and I kind of just assumed he was still on the roster. But when I saw that he was doing stuff for the Lakers, I was like, go get him, Stanimo, man. And a shout out to George Brooks, who does the podcast as well. She is a very big Stanimo fan. And let's stick with you, Rob. Give me your best realistic and necessary trade. We're not gonna break balls here with the salary cap stuff too much, but as real as you can make it.
I got a general. You may have to add a couple of people here and there, some minimal contracts just to edge the salary cap. But this is my breakdown. How I like to just look at the league, and my tendency is to want to fix everybody's problem in one move. So This is a 5-team trade involving the Raptors, the Blazers, the Sixers, the Pelicans, and this 5th team. You can either I'll give you both scenarios where you add the 5th team or you keep the 5th team out, which is the Indiana Pacers. So the meat of the trade. The question on both your minds should be, what are the Pelicans getting out of this? And am not a CJ McCollum guy like other people are. I don't think that the Sixers should have any interest in CJ McCollum as the piece coming back for Ben Simmons. It doesn't make sense to me. He's a shooting guard. He's not a point guard. Seth Curry is perfect for their Embiid Seth Curry system. I wouldn't want to see upsetting anything like that. So where does CJ McCollum go? Well, the Pacers don't want him. I don't think the Raptors need him in this scenario. And what are the Pelicans trying to do? They're trying to keep Zion around. So here's my trade. You have Simmons going to Portland like Lillard wants. You've got Pascal going to play with Embiid in Philadelphia. You have McCollum going to the Pelicans. In the Pacers scenario, you have Sabonis coming to the Raptors with like Josh Hart, Satoransky, Hayes, and a bunch of draft capital going to the Pacers. We would get like Jeffrey Lamb would be involved. I think you could actually trade Dragic along with Pascal to the 76ers if they included Danny Green, which I would be fine with, if it comes to us or he comes to wherever he is. But basically you move that stuff around. The Pacers could pretty much stay the way they are from that point going forward. You move Powell to the shooting guard position. You move Covington over to the small. You have Simmons playing the power, and you have Nurkic. Plus, you got Larry Nance on the bench. Little, Simmons. I think immediately the Blazers are better. There might be some draft capital in there. I'm a Ben Simmons guy still. I still think he makes a huge impact. I still think he's better than CJ McCollum. He's probably the best player in that trade. Not even probably. He's the best player in that trade. Now, I like Sabonis to the Raptors personally. I was a big Marc Gasol guy. I think the fact that not having a big guy that can pass like that has hurt us. I worry that he's a redundancy with Scotty Barnes to some degree, and I'm a big Scotty Barnes guy, and that's why I'm okay with moving on from Pascal, because it's just I want to go with OG and Barnes going forward at the forward position. I think if we got Fred, a great contract. I mean, I like him. I just worry that, if he plays great, he can leave on his contract. And if he doesn't live up to the contract, and he did live up to the contract, I didn't love that signing. I almost wish we just kept Norm for the money he's getting, but that's besides the point. We just need to figure out the 5 and to make a bench. And if we can get Sabonis and draft capital, great. But the other scenario where you don't include Indianapolis, it might sound crazy, but I'll take some of those Pelicans picks. Give me Jackson Hayes, Satoransky that's expiring, Hart that's expiring, and a bucket of those picks. I think Jackson Hayes has a chance to still be one of your platoon bigs. He hasn't shown a ton, but he's also not in a good situation, obviously. And I'll take the reset. I think I'm okay with it. Let McCollum try to fix the Pelicans. That won't work, but it doesn't matter what'll work in New Orleans. They'll just do with anything anyways. And I think you could get a lot of that draft capital back. So that's my how to fix 5 teams, I think. But I probably would rather keep the Pacers in it, get Sabonis, grab a Jeffrey Lamb to go with them, and then try to flip that for some draft capital or whatever it is. But that's my 5-team trade.
That's a wild time with a lot of moving parts. I feel like there's just so much going on there, but for the most part, I think, guys you're mentioning, for me, short of the Toronto angle, I don't see, but I for the most part, I do see people needing to change locations. And I think, yeah, I mean, obviously it's 5 teams and it's wild, but we've seen big wild trades before. Jackson Hayes, it's funny. He's a guy I've been mentioning for, since he came into the league as the perfect potential, platoon guy for a squad like the Raptors. I think that could be a move on the margins or something. Who knows? But, yeah, I just want to, I feel like I always got to shout out people who still have belief in Ben Simmons, because I very much do. And I think that sometimes a bad playoff moment or even just, being a guy that someone can game plan around, like a DeRozan or a Chris Paul way back when, or Ben Simmons in the playoffs, or should I say as well, Joel Embiid, who people often don't really talk about how much he's game planned for in the playoffs and how successful it's been. But I will say, but my rant aside, that yeah, I'm a big believer in new opportunities, and I think a lot of those people need new opportunities.
How do you
I
feel about Ben
yeah.
at the 5? Do you think Ben Simmons works as a 5 in going forward? Because I have this temptation to want to go straight up Pascal for Simmons. I like the problem is I think Scotty Barnes makes Simmons a redundancy, especially as a big. The only thing that keeps me in favor of it, and I think that this is something that nobody brings up in basketball, like they do in hockey for some reason, but the fact that Ben Simmons is left-handed and Barnes is right-handed, it's a weird thing to care about, but for some reason I do. And because I think especially coming off the pick and roll, it creates two different sort of ways to handle the pick and roll. And if one of look, people's dominant hands matter. And if you're worried about a 5 like Miles Turner that can block you at the rim, having two guys that can pick and roll from different directions is kind of, I think, an advantage that most people don't. I feel like it's one of those things you could have like a platoon situation with the big that people aren't thinking about right now, and I kind of find it appealing. But maybe that's the hockey.
No, yeah, I think there's some stuff there for sure. I mean, where Ben Simmons goes next is to me sort of a mystery because he's still quite young. He's still very good. I think he hasn't shown in my to me like a lot of being able to incorporate himself in a team. So I definitely be wary of making a ton of space for him. But yeah, let's go to you, Jay. Who's your what's your trade, or any quick thoughts as well are welcome.
Yeah, no, Rob, I love how you did this whole 5-team trade off the top of your head. And I know you were saying beforehand that this is just something you've been cooking up, and there isn't but the website that I use for trade machine stuff, I don't know if you guys noticed, but I kept looking over to the side here. I was plugging all this in while you were talking, and it worked.
Oh,
So
love it.
I took a screenshot and I sent it over to you guys in the group chat. But I was trying to keep up with you. I think I may have messed up one of the names here and there, but it works.
Yeah.
So great job on that trade, Rob.
And just to defend myself on the Raptors angle really quickly, Josh Hart has a very interesting contract. The thing you can do with Josh Hart right now is roll him in past the beginning of the draft, past the beginning of free agency, and then cut his contract. So he's a very interesting trade chip that people aren't necessarily looking at because you could match salaries, and then that team could waive $12 million off completely. So he's Josh Hart's a more interesting trade than people realize. Sorry, continue.
And yeah, his was the one name that made this a bit difficult because he's actually not eligible to be traded until March the 3rd, right? So I had to remove his name from this trade. But anyways, great job on that. And then the only other thing I would point out is the whole Ben Simmons at the 5. I totally can see that. I think that we're moving past a point where especially you can see with the Raptors, there's becoming less and less a use for assigning players to positions. It's specifically with the Raptors. They're just all over the place. You'll see OG playing the center. You'll see Pascal playing that. You'll see Scotty playing that. So if you wanted to find Ben Simmons as someone who plays the 5, I can totally see that in the Raptor system. Just not for me. It's just not at the cost of losing Pascal Siakam. But that's kind of where I sit with this. As for my fakeish trade, I want to cook up something that was a bit more different, but I don't think I can top 5 teams. So I'll just go for the good old 1-for-1 team by team trade. And I also stuck with the Pacers. They have a couple of guys on the table, but apparently only one of them might be going. One of Karis LeVert, Sabonis, or Turner. So I picked up for the Raptors, Turner along with Justin Holiday. Both of them, well, Turner because he's on the table, and Holiday because he's a bit on the older side. He's 32, and it looks like the Pacers want to gear more towards younger. And in return, the Raptors would be sending out Goran Dragic for a filler, but then 2 younger guys to help fill out their rosters. That would be Malachi Flynn and Precious Achua, plus 1 protected draft pick. So that's kind of where I see the Raptors and Pacers going. I think the Pacers would probably say no to this, but I would hope that Flynn and Achua is enough of a young up and coming, guard and center duo there to offset. Okay, you're getting an old guy in Goran Dragic who can kind of mentor your younger guys, but it gets Turner off your books if you're looking to trade him, and you have two somewhat promising prospects, maybe one more than the other in Flynn and Achua, and of course there's still that protected draft pick. So that's kind of what I see there for Raptors Pacers fake trade.
Okay. I like it. I like that we're all jumping on the Pacers. I mean, Sabonis and Turner alone being like, market available is definitely, I think that's the, you always need that kind of like igniter for a good trade season, like a team that's been, sort of clear about what they want to do and have fair asking prices. I think part of the problem with the, CJ or Ben Simmons or, the recent stuff we've seen is that they're not really, I don't know. There's been some like, not necessarily fair asks, but yeah, here's mine. So I think it was exciting. Washington was good for a little bit, but after the beginning of the season, they're kind of settling back to the Washington we know. And I feel like if they keep kind of climbing down and it's like, wait a second, there isn't really a new and improved Washington. I think this is the team for Ben Simmons. And I think it's time to move on from Brad Beal before he forces his way out. I think Brad Beal plus Embiid is what Philly wants. And I think, Washington has enough assets and enough players to kind of, take some stuff from Philly, and whether it's Maxey or, whatever, like Maxey Simmons for Beal, let's say, and some picks. And then Washington can actually go into a rebuild with someone, who's as good as Ben Simmons. And I think it's interesting on this pod, I'm used to encountering more Ben Simmons like haters, but I think we're all kind of at the point where, this guy was the runner-up defensive player of the year last year, and Philly was first in the East. And I think fans have a short memory, and man, he struggled in the playoffs. It was rough, but he could change a team. And so that's my trade. I think that's where I'm at. I don't know if you guys want to add
Simmons
before we wrap up.
Simmons and Beal straight up works.
On the Simmons thing. Simmons, for sure. That makes. I still don't think Washington could go off of Beal. I think that like the Dinwiddie signing was a great sign. I still think they have enough things that they would probably be more likely to send, Dennis Odvi. I don't know how to say it, their pick from last year. Yeah. Send him, send Rui Hachimura. Like I think that Washington's more still going to try to convince themselves they got to keep him and maybe package some of those things together with a KCP or something and try to acquire. Right. I don't know what they try to acquire. There's not a lot of forwards out there. Maybe a Jeremy Grant. I could see them like take a swing for Jeremy Grant possibly. But the Ben Simmons thing, I mean, it like if it wasn't for Scotty Barnes, I would be infuriatingly on the side of getting Ben Simmons. Like that's how much I'm in Ben Simmons' corner. Because I just anytime you have a chance in the league to recognize that you can get a talent for 50 cents on the dollar like that. I mean, everybody should be rushing to go get that. It's just the redundancy right now for the Raptors that it makes me a little wary. And my thing with Pascal is that I don't see the fit long-term with Barnes and with OG. I just, and I'd rather see them while he still has a few years on it. Like, because my hesitation, this is why I want to move on from Pascal now. It's because I love Miles Turner. But the reason I don't think about trying to acquire Miles Turner in a trade right now is because he's only got a year left after this year. Like, we're not trying to compete this year. Then we only got one more year of Miles Turner after. Like, I think he's a better complementary player for us than Sabonis. But that extra year at $18 million for Sabonis, like, that's a big difference. That's 2 years into when we're trying to be good as opposed to just one into when we're trying to be good. And granted, if they accept your trade, I mean, see, I'm not very quiet about my I don't give a shit about Precious or Malachi Flynn camp. I think they both stink to high heaven and won't be on this team in 2 years. But I think I'm a guy. I like Banton. Banton's going to be here. We can move off of Flynn. That was lovely. We drafted. Send him to the Pacers. Is anybody more perfect for the Indiana Pacers than Malachi Flynn? It feels like he came out of a cornfield outside of the Pacers like stadium. He's perfect. Send him there.
Field of Dreams,
Masai does wonderful things with guys with, crazy names, but Precious is he's a 6'8" fucking center. It makes no sense with no ability to shoot from the outside. I've never seen a guy have worse feel at the rim that's supposed to be a center in my life. It's insane. We all have to stop drinking this Kool-Aid. Precious Achiuwa stinks, everybody. Everybody get over it. We lost the Kyle trade. It was a terrible trade. We did a nice thing for a guy that we all appreciate. That's literally the end of story. We might get something for Goran Dragic because the league has fallen apart with COVID. That's the only reason we may actually see an asset return to Toronto for Goran Dragic. That was a bad trade. I love everybody on the Raptors Facebook, give me a good community. But boy, oh boy, did everybody drink the Kool-Aid on that shit. Precious stinks. Malachi stinks. That whole draft stinks. From top to bottom. That draft was atrocious. And most of the players in that draft would be out of the league in 2 years. So just, if you were drafted in 2020, 2021, I got no interest in you. Unless you're maybe James Wiseman or LaMelo Ball. I don't care otherwise. That's my feelings on that. Yeah.
Rob coming in, letting people know how he feels. I'm into it. I think we got to wrap this baby up, but I'm still a Pascal dude, and believe it or not, I like Precious. Sorry, but I think I must be drinking the Kool-Aid. But
I've got better moves at the hoop. He's got no moves at the hoop.
I believe you.
It's crazy.
But
anyway.
Yeah, no, we've made it to the end of the pod. Thank you both so much. This is a juicy one. I wanted to do some more games and stuff, but we're right at that hour mark, so I'm gonna call it. But let's go to you first, Rob. Besides the life stuff, what's going on? Where can people check you out? How can they follow you? How can they get into your comedy?
Well, okay. So Rob Loves Arguing on everything. I was just about to restart not only Rob Loves Arguing the podcast, but also a Rob Loves Arguing Sports in my studio that I built in my apartment in New York City that I can't get back to now. So we're going to wait a little longer on that. But I'm going to be in Canada for a little bit. I have a festival. What I do sort of this recurring festival. They're not annual. It's called the Dark Comedy Festival. We have Dark Comedy Festival 9, February 11th and 12th. It's Dark Comedy Festival 9, Crimes of Passion. I give them all fun names. And that'll be at the Royal Theatre February 11th and 12th if they don't make us cancel. But they probably will. But regardless, try to buy some tickets, and then, you'll get first crack at the rescheduled dates in 2025 or whenever we're allowed to do comedy again.
Okay, get in there. Get the first crack at the dates. Rob, thank you.
Thank you, Freddie.
No problem. Jay, what's up? I know Raptors HQ, but and that's a wrap. Where can people find you? Where can they follow you? All that good stuff.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Rosales, and yeah, I do a weekly look at the games of the week for the Raptors. This week was especially fun. Did you know that the Knicks have the best roundup of nicknames on their team? For example, Mitchell Robinson, Block Ness Monster, Julius Randle, Don Julio, Alec Burks, Houdini, RJ Barrett, Maple Mamba. They've got the best nicknames, and this is the kind of stuff you'll find on my weekly recap of the Raptors games of the week. And that's where you can find me. And I'm, again, happy to be on here, and happy holidays to both you guys and everyone who's watching and listening.
Hell yeah. Thank you so much. And I think with that, I'll just thank everyone who's been listening and, sharing the pod and spreading the good word. We do appreciate it. And Maddie, if you feel like we're good, we're done, we're good to go, please just give me those delicious words. Okay.
This podcast has been brought to you by the Sonar Network. Sonar!